customers. The first thing on this month's GPS Training podcast is a look at unit sales over the past 2 months. What have been the most popular GPS units and our views on each of them? Before I go into the league table, I've got to hold my hands up and tell you guys where these figures have come from. So you people all know the GPS Training website. GPS Training is our premium brand, where we offer post-sale and support when we sell a GPS unit. We also have another website. I've never mentioned this on the GPS Training podcast because it really doesn't relate to the GPS Training podcast. But we have a budget website called Outdoor GPS Shop. An Outdoor GPS Shop, we sell slightly cheaper, but without the post-sale and support. So you don't get Ian's wit and humour in supporting it post-sale. You speak to Garmin on 20 minutes hold on the Garmin helpline. So, but before this bit of a piece, the only way I can pull together some sales figures is to pull them from both websites. So I always think of GPS Training, our premium brand, which sells more of the top-end GPS units. People want that post-sale and support. And then, to be honest, with the great respect to Outdoor GPS Shop, it tends to sell more the budget end units, and also there's people who don't want that post-sale and support, so it does sell some top-end units, but the majority of them. But I think it gives us a nice even spread of right across the market, of right from the the cheapest GPS unit for £89.99 right up to the most expensive one, which I think comes in at £900 really. So it's quite nice that we pull those figures together. So those are two websites: GPS Training and Outdoor GPS Shop are the two websites. So initially, I wasn't going to give you the figures, but I thought actually it'd be a bit more constructive rather than hiding from you. But when I spoke to you this week, or last week it was actually, and I said,
wasn't it? Yeah.
What do you think the best-selling GPS unit was for 66 SR? You actually guessed correctly. You actually guessed number 1 and number 3 in the hit grade.
Yes.
Should we start? We'll start from the top. I was thinking let's start with number 1.
Yeah.
So number 1, I think the world has followed you, Ian, haven't they?
Oh, definitely.
Ian upgrades this unit earlier on this year. You upgraded from number 2 to number 1, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yes.
So you are they call you an influencer, Ian, in this field, do they
I was
not?
going to say I could have one of these YouTube channels, couldn't I, or whatever, and have lots of people subscribing. Yes, absolutely.
Ian the influencer.
Yes.
So if people haven't gathered what we're talking about,
I'll be waiting for my commission, John.
Commission from Garmin. That should be our New Year's resolution, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
We should wait for something free off Garmin. Okay, right.
Yeah.
Number 1 is Garmin GPS Map 66 SR, which was a new GPS unit launched by Garmin 3 months ago.
Yeah,
4
so
months
I think
ago?
it was end of September, I think. Wasn't it?
September.
Something like that. Yeah.
Ian upgraded to one from his GPS Map 66S. So GPS Map 66S been around a couple of years now.
Yep.
66SR has just come out, which has multi-band, which means it uses 5 satellite systems, built-in battery, has the topographical mapping, and that's it really. So it's the upgrade of the 66S. And that, Ian, has been the bestseller in the last 2 months of 2020, with really very, very good numbers, actually. Considerable numbers. The top 4 or 5 are considerably higher than the rest, aren't they?
Yeah.
As you expected, Ian, I suspect.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I think the thing is that anyone who's actually invested in one of these 66 SRs, and I've seen that through the last couple of months, 1 or 2 have actually asked to do an upgrade as well, like I did, from the 66S to the SR. And I'd be very surprised if they're disappointed with it in any way. I mean, the thing that I find incredible is that it just does, and I think it's almost like the Garmin have finally put a lot of lessons learned from the 66S into the SR, just in the technology. Like mine instantly connects to Garmin Connect, instantly connects to the Garmin Explore app. The things that I sort of struggled a bit with my 66S, and whether it was because it was in early days 66S compared to what's now being put in, which, so I would have started off with a GPS with sort of like the, that's been had many updates. I don't know, but the 66 SR just is, I think it's a great GPS. The only thing that I would say, and I know I've said to 1 or 2 customers, is that I think we discussed it on last month's podcast, John, The chance of me ever updating the Topo Active Europe maps that come preloaded with the GPS, I can't see. That's the one thing that I know that I'm just not probably gonna, what doesn't worry me at all, because I'm more interested as a GPS out walking or cycling with the Ordnance Survey maps on, and I just think it is just. I don't know. It's identical to the 66S, but there's just something in it that just I think makes it a much better unit.
I totally agree. I think it is by far the best GPS unit, or the best top end GPS unit currently on the market. There's no two ways about it, really. So 66SR in first place. Second place, a very, very close second, just a few units behind, is the GPS Map 66S. Now, I understand that, because actually it's £100 cheaper. Straight away, it's £100 cheaper. Whatever bundle you're going to get, it's £100 cheaper. So you're going to say, is it worth the extra £100 for the built-in battery, Topo Active mapping, and multiband? That's down to your personal budget, and there's no two ways about it.
I'd say it's down to everyone's budget, and the 66S is as good as the SR. It's just the SR, I think, is probably pips it just for things that I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it just does.
And they look very, very well. They look identical. The interface is identical, isn't it?
But John, as we mentioned, I do have a green back. We get a green back, don't we? And it does say multiband on the top of the.
With £100 in its own right.
It's worth it, yeah. That's what you get for it.
It is. And then in third place, you actually said it, between number one and number two, you thought this, but it comes in number three, is the Garmin Montana 700, the new large screen GPS unit by Garmin. And again, I think is the game-changing GPS of 2021 by a long way. Really steps and bounds. The 66SR is kind of a bit of an update. The Montana 700 is let's start again from scratch. Scrap blank piece of paper. Let's create a new GPS unit, and the Montana 700 has done that, hasn't it?
I think the thing is that for walkers, I've had a few customers mention that they would prefer to not have a GPS as big as the Montana 700, but customers very kindly have found solutions how to carry the Montana 700 as a walker. Obviously, if you're a cyclist or motorcyclist, not a problem. But the 700, when I use it doing the support and I get a question from a customer, I just sit there and just marvel just how easy it is to work your way around the screens and do things on it.
It's a well-worthy third place, really. And actually, again, if it was a slightly smaller GPS unit, I think it would be at the top of that field. It's just that not everybody wants a large screen GPS unit. So to have a Montana 700 in third place, where traditionally, if this was this time last year and everything else was the same, the Montana 610, I think, would have been in 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th position in that league table. I think to have it third just shows what a significant GPS it is, really. I'm saying history's going a bit moronic with it, really, but I think it has been a big game changer, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
So first place, GPS Map 66R, second place, GPS Map 66S, and then Montana 700 in third place. In fourth place, I was actually, I suppose, not surprised. Again, if you read the reviews I'm going to do, which I'm going to link to in the show notes, I always say is the best touchscreen budget GPS unit currently on the market. eTrex Just 25T. Again, been with us a few years now. 25T, 6 years, Ian, 5 years.
Good. Years. 5 years.
5 or 6 years.
But then, John, so when you told me that this is what we were going to talk about through the podcast, I confess to you now, I sat down in front of the figures and literally ticked off each different unit, and I was surprised. And in fact, I'm going to show you my piece of paper that I started compiling. So you see, so I've got that bit of paper, and I've literally gone through, and it surprised me the number of little ticks I made for the eTrex 25 Touch 25. But then when I was doing it, I'm thinking I'm not surprised, because people who don't want an all singing, all dancing GPS, it is a good basic GPS, but with touchscreen capability. And if you want, there are lots of people, geocachers, who buy GPSs for a very specific reason, or someone who just wants a GPS to be out with them just so that they can check that they are where they really are, because they much still, understandably, for many people, still prefer just using a paper map and compass. So but they want something just as a backup.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're not going to spend £800 on a Montana, are they?
No, they're certainly not.
So it doesn't sort of surprise me, really.
No, I think it is. It's just a small Oregon GPS unit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is actually number 5 on our list, is the Oregon 700. So I was interested a touch above the Oregon, because I can say it is just a slightly smaller. Again, it's a very small number difference between the two. So E-Trex 25 in 4th place, Oregon 700 in 5th place. Again, if this list had been done 2 years ago, Oregon 700 would have been top.
Oh, it would have been the top, wouldn't it? By a long way.
So that's telling me, that shows me that the Oregon 700 is still a really good GPS unit, but again, is now 5 or 6 years old. And therefore, the 66S is newer to it, which we're saying is 3 years old. 66SR is newer than it. Montana 700 is newer than it. So again, I think it's just slipped down that league table just because it's just slightly older, but it's still the best touchscreen GPS normal size unit without going to a Montana on the market.
Absolutely. Yes. And I think, and I know that we don't know anything, but the real game changer for the Oregon 700 would be because I know we talked about it earlier this year, about how if they were to shrink the technology down from the Montana to a new Oregon, that would be at the top, wouldn't it? I think.
I think it would do. I think it is it'd be nice to see an update. We don't know anything, as Ian says, so we'll see what happens down the line. So in 6th place, were you shocked by this 6th place or not, Ian? Because it's something you don't really have that much context. In 6th place, E-Trex just 32X, really. So the best budget button GPS unit currently in the market, 32X. Now, I must say, when I compare these lists earlier on today, a lot of the 32X sales came from our budget website, which is Outdoor GPS Shop. So we don't sell a massive amount through GPS Training, but we sell far more through Outdoor GPS Shop, which is our budget website. I think this will be the best selling unit on that website, actually. So it kind of shows where a lot of those sales figures have come from. So again, because I think Ian's going to look at, I don't support that many, because actually I suspect 75% will come from Outdoor GPS.
I get the odd customer every, once in a blue moon, but not that many at all. But then again, it's, if you don't want a touchscreen, but you want something very easy to use, but you don't wish to spend a lot of money, and the thing is, the screen quality is fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's quite incredible.
You see, the other thing as well, it'd be interesting to do this list again in June, because actually we're compiling November and December sales where people are cold, thinking of winter. I don't want a touchscreen GPS unit. I want a button GPS unit. Now, it'd be interesting to see in June, July, whether we sell significantly more touchscreen units and less button GPS units when the weather is warmer. So that's my, that's my thought there on the 32X. So, and in 7th place, which I think will all be outdoor GPS sales, I don't think we've sold one in GPS Training, will be the good old E-Trex 10. E-Trex 10 is the budget black and white GPS units from Garmin, literally coming in under £100. Gives you a grid reference.
Yeah.
Come on, Ian. Have you got any more comments on it? Help me with the E-Trex 10. Sell it to me, please. Tell me the joys of the E-Trex 10.
Again, if that's all you want, if you're a walker, I think if you all you want to know is just confirm where you are, but you still much prefer using a map and compass, then why spend even as much on a 32X? Just get something really basic.
Yeah, and that's the majority of the sales that we sell. Somebody said, I just want to keep some in my rucksack just in case I get lost. I want to switch it on and know where I am, or just to confirm where I am with an ordnance survey mapping.
Yes.
Great battery life, black and white screen on it. It's totally we don't get hassle with them, because there's nothing really goes wrong with them, because actually there's an awful lot really, does it, compared to what we're
absolutely
unit.
Yeah.
So that's in 7th place. In 8th place, Are you surprised by this, Ian? GPS Map 64SX, really?
I mean,
I'm amazed,
again,
actually, when we look at this, actually, how many of that GPS Map range, in that top 8, we've actually got 3 units. Where, again, 2 years ago, we just had, maybe, or 3 years ago, we maybe just had a 64S in there, which would have been maybe in about 6th or 7th position. But in that top 8, we've got 3, with the base one being the 64SX, really, which is just really a 64S with a few upgrades and various things on it, isn't it?
and I suppose really in some ways the reason why it is where it is probably because, again, people want something very basic, but there is more to it than it's a bigger screen, isn't it, than the E-Trex 32X or the E-Trex 10.
Yeah.
So it's a bigger screen, you can do more with it. But yeah, I mean, again, I don't think I've supported anyone with 64 SX. I don't think. I've had one person, I think, one customer over the last few months, and so I was like going back to, having to trawl back through all sorts of different sort of like notes that we've got on the system just to remind myself where to find what the query was. But no, as I say, it is just and again, a good budget, but good, GPS, isn't it?
It most certainly is. And I was going to say, I'm not going to give you figures, but again, the 64SX is a third of the sales than the 66SR and the 66S. So you can kind of, when we're getting down to 8th position, you can see how top heavy we are on those top 66SR and 66S and Montana 700. And then in 9th place, actually, I suppose it is the Montana 700i, which again, I suppose if you bundle together your Montana 700 sales and your Montana 700i sales, that would have you number 1 position.
Yeah, John, but think how different the story would have been if Garmin hadn't messed up their maps, eh?
I know.
You just think on the lost sales that Garmin have created for themselves by this schoolboy error.
So people don't know the Montana 700i doesn't work with 125,000 mapping. So what we've got is a premium unit, one of the most expensive units currently on the market, doesn't work with the most expensive map card. So as Ian rightly says, if it had,
I think we'd be looking.
Good, that's a good one there. My most listened to, or our most listened to podcast, Ian, is my rant on the Montana 700i map card scenario.
It is, isn't it? I'm sure it is.
It's actually. If people never listen to, I can't remember what podcast episode it is, but that was my boiling point of my frustration. I'm going to tell the world what is going on with the Montana 700i. It was actually my most listened to podcast, or our most listened to podcast. So get on my soapbox.
I am sure it has got to be that reflects the lost sales of the GPS because of this map card debacle.
100%. And I can't believe, actually, as we came up to Christmas, how many 700i's we sold. And literally in the few days coming to Christmas, we sold a lot of 700i's, premium products, people buying for themselves. It was fantastic. It was really interesting, actually. I had a lot of people who I think had been persuading their wives this is what they want for Christmas, and I think their wives didn't buy it. And in the end, coming to Christmas, literally the week before Christmas, their wives threw their credit cards at the gentleman and said, buy yourself that GPS unit you've been wanting.
John, it's the promise. It's on this promise that they're going to be getting a new map card next year that will work.
I hope so. It'd be interesting to see when the new map card does come out, how the sales increase on the back of that.
Perhaps that should be our challenge to Garmin, to really make us be eating our own words come the February podcast. Because they said they were going to release it in January, didn't they?
Yeah. Moving swiftly on from Garmin's January launch of the new map card. This is never going to happen. In 10th place, the Garmin GPS Map 66i. So again, we've got 460 GPS map GPS units in the top 10 with a 66i. Again, it's the same as the 66, but it has the two-way satellite communication in it as the 700i. So really the 9th and 10th position, we've got those. You see, that just sums up, we see, as a GPS map 66i, that shows my influence in the world, Ian, because I'm in 10th position where you're in number 1 as the influencer. So...
Absolutely.
Yeah, you lead the way, and I bring up
Yeah,
the
yeah.
tail end Charlie in 10th place.
But I think, though, to be honest with you, though, John, again, it's because I understand that not everyone would probably want to spend the money on the in reach side of the
Yeah.
GPS, and so I think that's why it is where it is, isn't it? For
It is. People
that.
don't know, for the InReach technology, we need to pay a subscription. The basic package is £15 a month. And as of today, Garmin have put their yearly fee up from £25 to £35 to be on that system as well.
Wow.
In the email that we got from Garmin, this is the subscription to be registered on the satellite system, and also to store your data, Ian. So I can't believe that data storage is going up by £10. I think a few people have been dropping in and out of contracts, and I think this is maybe being increased to stop that from happening. Because when you drop off a contract, you stop paying month by month, you have to pay this fee again to get back onto the system.
Wow.
So I think there's a lot of people been dropping off for a couple of months and signing back up again, going on for a couple of months, dropping off. And I think by increasing that from £25 to £35, you now have to say, I need to stop my subscription for 3 months, otherwise it's not worth me doing this. And I think that's why Garmin have just done this from the 1st of January. So I find it very amusing. We've not decreased the monthly budget, the monthly amount. If my theory is correct, but again, I think therefore you're thinking £15 a month. That's £180 a year plus your £35. That's what, £210. £215 a year to run that, which is not insignificant, is it, Ian?
No. And as I say, if you're a serious walker going out into the middle of nowhere, then fully understand why you'd have one. But yeah, but then I think, well, you'd have thought, if anything, Garmin could have dropped their prices. No, that's never going to happen, is it? So
that's your top 10. So are you ready for the music for Pick of the Pops? Are you, Ian? In 10th place is the GPS Map 66i. In 9th place is the Montana 700i. In 8th place is the Garmin GPS Map 64SX. In 7th place is the eTrex 10. In 6th place is the eTrex 32X. And in 5th place is the Garmin Oregon 700. In 4th place is the Garmin eTrex Touch 25T. 3rd place is the Montana 700. 2nd place is a Garmin GPS Map 66S. And in 1st place for the last 2 months of 2020 is the Garmin GPS Map 66SR. There you are.
Fantastic.
I've been practicing that all night.
Have you? And still having to accept the fact that I'm a better influencer than you are, John.
Just me in this world, isn't it? Really?
Oh, bless.
Always backing the underdog there, really. So if you want to find out more about each of these GPS units, watch our honest review of the best budget, top end and large screen GPS units on the marketplace. Please go to our website, which is gpstraining.co.uk. Click on reviews on the top menu bar, and then you'll see an article, best handheld outdoor GPS units, updated for winter 2020, Christmas 2020, and spring 2021. And you see I've done 3 videos, which is the best budget GPS unit, best top-end GPS units, and the best large-screen GPS unit. Go over each of them. You can see what they look like, and it gives you a good understanding of our thoughts. And that very much ties into the sales as well. So I did those videos at the start of November. It was quite interesting that actually our reflection, maybe I am influenced after all in my conclusion.
Could be that as well.
Has influenced sales in some small way.
Fantastic.